Well, we thank God for another opportunity that God has presented our way this evening. And we are going to be talking about family mentorship. I'm going to be, um, like I always say, my key interest is to ensure that the marriages work, relationship work, and we are able to raise our kids in the best way. I want to say, fortunately, uh, there are some people who have got this knowledge right. God has endowed them and they know how to make relationship work. However, there are some people who are struggling to make their own relationship work. So there's help, and that's what we are doing, providing some sort of help to making sure that marriages work, relationship work, and parenting is as easy as possible. To be honest, there's nothing that does not have its own challenges. There are challenges at different levels, either in marriage or in relationship or even in parenting. But once we are well prepared, once we are ready, we can manage all these challenges in a much more effective way. Right? So that's the reason why I'm here. Once again, my name is Ola Olageshi. I'm a pastor of Gideon International Ministry, and my passion, that's my passion, not my calling. My calling is to build the church, not the people, not the building, but the people. I've been called to build the people of God up, not the building. But my passion is to ensure that marriages work. By the grace of God, I'm an experienced mentor and a counselor. I have counseled, I cannot mention how many now. That will scare you. All right. So I've counseled many families, and I am here to help you to make your marriage work. If you listen to all the series, I started with relationship, and then I dealt with different aspects of relationships. I dealt with how to make relationship work, how to start a relationship, how to sustain a relationship, the kind of people you can relate with, the kind of people you can marry. I told you, don't marry anybody that you cannot have a relationship with. And I said relationship is not just coming together of a man and a woman with a desire. It, it's more detailed. It goes beyond just, you know, having emotional connection, sexual relationship. It goes beyond that. It goes beyond giving and receiving. It goes beyond that. It's a deep thing. And I explained all that. Last time I started talking about friendship, a relationship. You don't have a relationship with somebody who is not your friend. And you don't marry somebody who you don't have a solid relationship with. I explained all this to us. And also in some of my teachings, I told you how do you discover who you should have a relationship with? How do you discover who you should marry? I explained all that to you. I said that God does not come from heaven and God does not get involved in marriage or relationship. So, relationship is not something you pray and fast and then believe that there's going to be a magic from heaven. No, that's not true. There's nothing wrong in praying. There's nothing wrong in fasting. Those things could be for something else. But in terms of relationship, it takes you, it takes the next person. So don't frustrate yourself and think that you could just go on the, just pray and fast and pray and fast and something will happen. That's not true. I have to be honest with you and I have to tell you the truth. All right. So tonight, by the grace of God, I'm going to be talking more about something different. I hope people can pick this up. I hope. Now, I'm going to be talking about uh, communication. Communication in relationship. Communication as well is important in marriage. Then there's communication between parents and the children. In the family life, you cannot underestimate the power of good communication. In any relationship where the the spouses are not talking or are talking, but they are not really communicating. See, you can talk, but you may not be communicating. You can shout and raise your voice, but you may not be communicating. And then, if you are not communicating with each other, even though you are talking together, there's a difference between talking and communicating. If you do not communicate, the next thing is assumption comes in. Remember that in the first teaching, it was assumptions I dealt with. That if you assume you know him, or he assumes he knows you, or you assume you heard him, or you assume you understand her, if both of you assume you understand each other, or you've spoken of you've got each other, there could be big problem looming. You need to be able to communicate. There are lots of people who assume that they are talking. And because you assumed you have spoken, you assume that the other person has heard you. So tonight, what I'm going to be basing my discussion on tonight is positive communication. When I say positive communication, it doesn't mean that your other type of communication will be negative. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that we are talking about a kind of communication that brings effective results. For example, there are different kinds of people in relationships. Some speak out their hearts. Others speak with their behavior, their body language. Now, if you are the kind of person that speaks with your body language, that speaks with your eyes, that speaks by frowning, by not eating food at home, you speak by not participating at home, you are leaving your relationship open to assumption. The other party might misjudge or misrepresent or misunderstand you because you assume that the person should know that you are upset, you are angry, or you are not happy, or you are expecting him to read your body language and say, oh, this is what my wife or this is what my spouse means. That's not always true. That does not always mean that the next person has understood you. You need to understand how to be basic in your communication so that sometime There is no confusion. There's no ambiguity. There's no did he say, did he not say, did she say, did she not do? There's nothing like that. You have to be transparent, and your communication must be clear. Do you understand this? There are several families that have had issues because of assumption. And also, I said this before, if somebody told you something and you are not sure, there's nothing wrong with asking and then asking again and asking again the third time. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you must ask again and ask the second time and the third time, you must also give your spouse the benefit of asking you again and again and again. So that when you are asking, you don't get upset. So when he's asking you, he shouldn't get upset. Both of you must be able, without any pressure, without any fear, to be able to discuss. And if something is not clear, it doesn't mean the other person is silly or stupid. No, it's just that he or she just needs a clearer confirmation and assurance. It is important that we understand this in our relationship. If we are in a relationship and we cannot talk to each other, we cannot communicate. Before somebody says A, there's problem. Before the second person says B, there's problem. Or some people are talking they are discussing with the mindset that if I say this person is going to attack me. This person is going to try to defend himself. This person is going to try and do X and Y. Once you have that prejudged mentality, mindset, it's going to be a problem. You must be able to open your heart. Number one, you are not perfect. Number two, he is not perfect. The other person is not perfect. Both of you are not perfect. You must have this at the back of your mind that he might say something that I don't like. That does not mean that was his intention. There are people who are paranoia. Before you say anything, they are thinking, oh, he said that to me. Oh, he meant that. Oh, he meant that. There was a reason why he looked at me like that. There was a reason why he said that to me. That is still part of the families of assumptions. You are prejudging problem before it starts. You are expecting it. You are expecting problem when there's no problem. Rather, what you should do is, honey, can we talk? Honey, can we talk about this issue? I feel a bit concerned about X and Y. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. You don't need to raise your voice. He does not need to raise a voice. She does not need to raise her voice. Nobody needs to raise their voice. You must discuss as civil partners, civilized people. And of course, in discussion, sometimes you must learn when to de-escalate. When you find that the other party, is now raising their voice, you control that voice band for twice, and the third time, and the person keeps, then you know that the person is not ready to discuss for that particular time. There's always a time where, and that happens to everybody, including myself, when I am not in the mood for discussion. That does not mean I'm hiding or I'm running away from facing the reality. I might not just be in the mood. So the mood must be right. The atmosphere must be right. The environment must be right. The timing must be right. Do you understand that? The timing must be right. Time to talk. And that's why I told you 2 weeks ago, it's only matured people. You must be matured. You must be able to manage the big M in marriage. You must be able to manage each other's differences. before you can go into a relationship. Relationship is not for babies. They can't handle it. Relationship is not just for anybody because you want to marry, you want to have baby, you want to have sex. You think that's why you should have a relationship. You're a joke. You'll be frustrated. You'll be frustrated. You don't want that to happen to you. You don't want that to happen to you. So don't go into a relationship because somebody, no. The key thing is ask yourself, do we have relationship? Do we have communication in this relationship? Are we able to talk? Are we able to discuss without throwing chairs, without throwing tantrums, without throwing stones, without throwing punches, without somebody walking away, without any animosity after the discussion? These are the things you have to weigh. And that would tell you that this is the kind of guy or this is the kind of girl I should marry. She listens to me, even when she's not happy, even when I'm wrong. She listens to me. He also listens to her when she is upset. When things are not right, they can still talk. They can still manage their crisis together. That is the first litmus test that you are in the right relationship. That is the first litmus test. If you are in a relationship with somebody you cannot communicate with or cannot communicate with you, you need to start to build it up right from now. Don't wait until marriage. I told you anybody that has a failed relationship would have a failed marriage. Any man or any woman that will not honor you, that will not respect you in your relationship, will never respect you or honor you in your marriage. Don't go into a relationship with anyone that will not honor you, that will not respect you, that will treat you shabbily, that will talk to you anyhow, that will make you feel so unwanted, that will make you feel so weak, so stupid, so, when you are in such, when people speak to you that way and you can feel it, or you can, even not even when they've said it, but when you can feel it. I am not talking about relationship where the husband is temperamental, the wife is temperamental. I'm not talking about that. That's a different thing. That's temper. We can deal with that later. But we are talking about a relationship where we cannot communicate. A relationship where our communication is toxic. A relationship where after talking, after discussing, after communicating, we go and fight each other, or somebody is fighting. The fight continues in their mind while the second person feels it's over. But the next person carries a fight and then goes out and speaks to somebody else and speaks to the third person and the fourth person. That is not the way to communicate. You will also notice that there are some men who don't speak at home, who don't communicate well at home, but anything that happens at home, they carry it out, outside. So they go and discuss and table the matter with friends outside. The same, some women will not communicate with their spouses, but they carry their problem to the third party, the fourth and the fifth party. That's a totally wrong approach. I've been married now 25 years, going to 26 now, ongoing. But I tell you something, for me, except it's not important, important things are discussed in my home. I discuss with my wife. We communicate. She discusses with me alone. We have a principle, we have a unique, it's an understanding right from day one. When things happen, if we cannot discuss it, then we don't talk about it. That means it does not exist. I will not call my mother-in-law or call my father-in-law or call my brother-in-law or call my friends outside or call my neighbor or call somebody and then discuss what I should have discussed with my wife And I know she would never do the same. So we are able to discuss and manage situations. Where others have failed repeatedly, we have succeeded because we understand how to communicate. When things are bad, we don't always have good times. When I say good times, we are happy. But sometimes the roads are rough. It could be finances, it could be other things, but we discuss. We discuss. So that's why nobody has ever seen us think about divorce, think about this, think about, we don't talk about those kind of nonsense. We never discussed it before. The reason is because we communicate. There's nothing that we cannot talk about. There's nothing, I'm saying absolutely nothing that we cannot discuss. And I tell you something, that has been very helpful. That has been very, very helpful. We have realized now that the reason why there's so much issues in relationships and marriages is because one person is hiding something and the other person is trying to discover something or try to uncover something. When you have such a relationship where the two people are not transparent, then it's an issue. We have had issues where a man picks his call only in the bathroom, and the wife picks a call only in the car. Or rather, they might have two phones with two numbers, and one person knows the other spouse has one number, and the other person knows that he or she has two numbers. But only outsiders knows that they have two numbers. But the wife or the husband only knows one number. There are situations where women lock their phone and men lock their phone, and the other person is thinking, why did he lock his phone? Or why did she lock her phone? And each person is thinking, and thoughts are traveling around their mind. That is not a good way to communicate. Now, the wife is assuming, or the woman is assuming in that relationship, the man is assuming that this is the reason why this man has done this. This is the reason why this woman has done this. And both of them are not happy. That is not the right way to communicate. There are different types of communication. But I tell you, one of the strongest things that happen in a marriage that makes marriage work is this thing called communication. If there's no communication in a relationship or in a marriage or with parents and their children, then there's a problem. And this problem could be very grievous. All right? So remember, what I'm sharing today with you is communication. Communication, communicating with each other, having that communion. We can talk, we can sit together, we can share things together, we can have. You see, communication does not need to be so serious. It doesn't have to be. You have to sit down. Sorry, please. Sorry, Sister Buki. All right. It doesn't mean, communication does not mean that it doesn't mean that it has to be a serious conversation. It can just be there's something about me you probably did not know or you are not noticing. And there's something about the other person you are just seeing for the first time. Or you probably assumed you knew, you didn't know. Discuss about it. Or there could be some sort of assumption that the person thought they knew you or you thought you knew them. You can discuss it. Oh, sorry, there's some noise coming out from there. Please, just a minute. Hello, Buki. Oh my God. There's, sorry about this. There's so much noise. So the thing is, there's something going on, and which is this depth of communication, where at least you are able to convey to somebody, I am honest, I am sincere. Sometimes one of the things I communicate with my wife, even when we were dating, was I'll tell her everything that's ever happened to me. And the reason why I do that is because if she wants to leave me, then she has a choice. I will not be afraid of her leaving me and then I will hide things away from her. I wouldn't do that. I would rather, I would rather tell her everything. And the reason why I used to do that is because rather than somebody hold me to ransom, rather than somebody go and tell her behind, let me tell her myself. So there was nothing that ever happened to me. There was no woman I ever knew that my wife did not know about. She was my girlfriend then. Now she's my wife. But there was nothing that anybody could brandish in our presence to say, look at it. No, there's not. Because we discuss, we communicate. There are times I've made mistakes. I will tell her. There are times she has made mistakes. She will tell me. There are things we have done wrong together or individually. We are open to apologize to one another. That is another effective way of communicating. To apologize when you are wrong and to explain why it happened and to reassure that it will never happen again. That's communication. There's nothing wrong with you or explaining, I'm sorry. It's part of communication. Explain why it happened. If you need help, tell the person, I need help in this area. Please help me out. That is still part of communication. Don't assume or don't give the person an assumption that you are so strong, you are okay. You are not okay if you are not okay. There's nothing wrong. There's no part in the Bible that says if you are not okay. There are some parts that I am weak. I am not okay. I need help. Where am I going to get it from? From my spouse, from my wife. I'd rather get it from her than get it from outside. Because there are many people that will promise you outside. There are many people that will say, I can help you. By the time you step there, you realize that they're even worse and you are in the worst case. So why don't you just discuss at home? Communicate with one another. The good things, the bad things. People assume that when we talk about communication, it must always be good things. No, that's partial communication. It can be bad things. It can be bad things. It can be sometimes some sort of things that sometimes you don't want to hear. You are not happy to hear them. But for you to get to a level to tell your spouse what they are not happy to hear, your relationship must have matured from the time you started, from the day you began. There must be an advanced relationship and maturity for you to be able to talk to each other one on one, face to face, without bruising each other's ego. You must have matured to that level to be able to discuss on such cases. In communication, sometimes if the other person is not, like I said earlier, is not ready to listen or is not ready to participate in that discussion, it does not mean that is the end of it. And it does not mean that it will not listen another time. You need to check yourself. Is it the time? Is it that it's a wrong time? Is it that it's the wrong time? Is it that it doesn't want, is not ready to discuss on that matter? Can we postpone it? Can we discuss another time? Can it be another night? You, whichever way, your maturity, your matured heart will devise the best way, the best plan, the best time, and the best hour, and the best words to discuss about. It is your matured mind that will help you do that. No counselor can tell you how the roadmap to a better relationship than yourself. Nobody can tell you apart from yourself. Let me quickly say this before I continue. You see, I've had a lot of Christians, a lot of children of God come to me and go to other people and they want to check, Pastor, is this man my husband? Is this woman my wife? Please, if you have done it, or if you just go and ask for forgiveness. If you have not done it, please don't do it. There's no pastor in the world. There's no man of God in the whole world that can tell you who your spouse should be, or that can tell you who your wife should be. There's no man of God in the world that God has given such power to. Look at the whole Bible from the beginning to the end. There was no single sign apart from Genesis when God brought Eve to Adam. He did not bring Eve to Adam to marry. He brought Eve to be a helper. I'm going to be talking about that soon. Eve came as a helper, not as a wife. And why did Eve come as a helper? Because God knew that the man that he has created cannot undo loneliness. Man cannot undo loneliness. I don't know if women can undo loneliness more than men, but I know that that lonely nature that is in man, that is like a cancer, the only person that can treat it is a woman. I know it's only a woman that can treat that demon. All right? But for those men who choose to be single, sorry, it's a dangerous thing. It is a dangerous thing for any man, no matter what happens, to decide to stay lonely, alone. Don't do it. I will never do it. And in fact, I can never do it. I can never do it. I cannot survive. I need my wife behind me. Okay, now let's go back to the communication. Communication is a key thing. You may discuss writings, you may discuss. Sometimes, me and my wife, we gossip. So we gossip about other people in a bad way and in a good way. It's still part of our communication. Sometimes we talk about our own weakness. Sometimes it's about me. And we've trained our children, sometimes when we start to discuss, it may lead to arguments. Our kids will be invited. So that they also may know that what solves the problem most of the time is communication. They've seen our manners, our approach. They've seen the way we manage issues that we don't even mind bringing our children to any discussion. And they have realized that that is what sustains us. And they, in their own relationship as well, they are doing the same. It is essential, it is very important that in any relationship, you must ask yourself, am I communicating well? Or have I said something I thought I said? Or something I said, I thought he had me, or she had me, or she understood me, and I understood her, and you never understood each other. Sometimes you are cross-purposing. You are talking, I thought I told you on Monday, but the man said, no, you didn't say Monday. Oh, you said Tuesday. That's a sign that even though you are communicating, but you need to clarify what you say. Clarify it to an extent that each person understands what you have said. So that is one aspect of communication that is very essential to make sure that each other, there's no confusion, there's no ambiguity, there's no did he say, did he not say, there's no anger, there's no pain at the end of the discussion. These are the things that are very important in you communicating. All right. There's also, I told you about the second type of communication. The first one we talked about is the verbal communication. The second type is not a good one. When I say it's not a good one, I mean we leave the other person to use their discretion to understand what we mean. For example, some men, when they are upset, they don't eat at home. So the spouse, that is a statement. However, if you ask her, why is he not eating at home? They cannot explain. So that's a bad communication from both of them. For example, the woman or the man might decide if they are not having sexual relationship with each other. And if you ask this other person, I don't know. So because she does not know, or because he does not know, that leaves a gap for assumption, thinking by the other guy that, oh, this guy is saying somebody outside. That one is saying somebody outside. So by the time you start to juggle that together, the assumption becomes bigger and it may turn to a reality. That might create problem in that family. The reason that you are not able to discuss it, you are not able to trash it, you are not able to discuss. So if you just use body language, or if you use different things to pass messages, if you use I, for example, I'll give an example. My daughter had a problem in school when she was in primary school. So she had to, she kind of, I think she beat somebody in school or they fought. So the school, the principal invited me for a discussion. So before I left, before I got to the school, I'd already spoken to my daughter at home earlier. We've spoken about why that happened. We've spoken about why that happened and why it should never happen again. So when we got to the school, just because I wanted my daughter to stop talking, because the principal was talking and she was trying to defend herself. So I did like this to her. I did, as in, I just winked. I did like this. And then she didn't understand that. She told me, Dad, what got you to your eye? Are you okay? When she said that, I kept quiet and I did like this to her because the woman was talking, the principal was talking, and I wanted to, because she still kept trying to argue. So I did like this to her, stop. Said that, why are you winking? So when she said, why are you winking? That was what threw me off. The wow. Because in Africa, we talk with nose, with mouth, with eyes, with hand, with leg, but it's not every culture that understands that. In fact, in the Yoruba culture, there's a way we communicate that the Igbos will not understand us. In the Hausa culture, there's a way they speak that the Yorubas may not understand them. Every culture it differs. There's diversities of cultures and tradition. So you can't assume that when you do this, or when you speak this way, or when you talk that way, or when you abstain from food, or abstain from sex, or abstain from participating at home, that the person understands what you're saying. No, that's not the right way to communicate. There must be discussion. It could be discussion over rents, discussion over mortgage, discussion over job, discussion over cars, discussion over credits. It could be discussion over everything that could cause trouble in the relationship or the marriage. There must be discussion. There must be communication. If both of you are not communicating, if both of you are not discussing, I tell you, you are opening gap. You are opening an opportunity for the enemy to strike you. You might find your spouse taking some steps or doing some things. Don't just keep quiet and say, okay, because okay has not solved the problem. Okay has not solved the issue. So you need to now trigger a discussion so that you both may communicate. If you don't do that, oh, I saw that on his phone. I saw that in his car. I saw that. I'll give an example. One of my daughters, the husband bought some things. And what he bought were bras and pants for somebody that was very close to him. He claimed that they were not having any relationship. But because somebody brought that to his office and he was thinking it was the woman's birthday, he just wanted to create a sense of humor and surprise the woman. So what did he buy? He bought pants and bras. Now, because he was going to pick his wife at the office that same day, he didn't want the wife to see, so he hid the stuff he bought under the chair, the passenger chair. But he had forgotten to take it out of there. So one day, he sent his son, who was very busy with phone. He loves phone. He sent that one, go and bring this thing for me in my car. That little child did not understand the instruction of the father. He ran with the assumption that daddy told me to go and bring something under the chair. So by the time that the child got into the house, the daddy had gone to the bathroom. The child still had the phone in his hand. So what did he do? He gave the bra and the pants to his mom and said, please give to dad when he comes out. This was an 8-year-old girl. So she didn't know what she was doing. So when the mom looked at the pants, he said, what is this? So when the woman started to scream, the man ran out, now remembered that it's very likely that that boy, that child, that girl must have gone to bring a wrong thing. So he ran out of the bathroom undressed, demanding that the woman should give him those things in his hand. And the woman said, no, I am not going to give these things to you. I need to know why did you buy them. I need to know who you bought them for. And while this argument was going on, the man said, I bought it for you. And, the woman said, but I don't wear black. So why did you buy black? He said, oh, it was a mistake. Okay, also, this thing you bought were not my size. He said, another mistake. Now, if there were communication, that situation would have been solved and resolved in a very simple way. I have never done that. It has never happened to me. It will never happen to me. But I just imagine if it happened to me. I can tell you, me and my wife can discuss it. Because of the level of communication we have, because of the level of maturity we have attained, we can discuss anything. So I'm saying communication is a very vital component that makes relationship, that makes marriages work. You may spend 100 million naira on marriage. If the person you marry cannot communicate with you, or you cannot communicate effectively with that person, that 100 million is a waste. No matter the amount of money you put together, if you are married somebody that is not your friend, somebody you don't have a relationship with, then you are going to be in a mess. Relationship is key, but for relationship to be a key, you must be able to have communication. If you don't have communication in your relationship, the husband can't talk to the wife cannot talk to the husband, or two of them are afraid to discuss. Because if I discuss, he will be upset. If he discuss, I will be upset. If that is the situation with your relationship today, I pity you. You are in a big mess. All right. So when we talk about relationship, you must be thinking at the back of your mind, communication. All right. I told you, I said in communication, there are good communication, there are bad communication. Now, I don't encourage bad communication, but there are times you need to discuss bad situations that needs to be communicated on. That does not mean it's a bad communication. A bad thing has happened, it has to be discussed. But the truth is that that thing I've just said is different from a bad communication. I'm a Christian, I'm a pastor, and the Bible encourages us that it said, let your words be with grace. Isaiah 50. Verse 4, let your word be with grace, seasoned with salt, that you may know how to communicate to them that are weary. In your communication, what that is telling you is that you need to look at the state and the condition or the situation or the circumstances of your spouse before you can communicate. Your spouse is human being. Your wife or your husband is human being. So you must consider their feelings before you utter words. They are, either you like it or not, they are words that can damage anybody. There are things you say that will mess any man up or mess any woman up. There are things you say, and I know people who joke with words. And joking with words is not a good way to communicate with somebody who is not matured yet. Because everything you say, they will take it personal and very serious, more than the way you envisage. You need to be careful when you discuss. Now, that does not mean you need to be afraid of your wife or your husband. No, that does not mean you should be afraid of what you discuss. That's not what I'm saying. But in your communication, you need to assess that person's level of maturity. You need to assess what that person is going through, the state of the mind. There are things that you say when people are happy and relaxed, they will not take offense over it. But there are things you say when people are under pressure and they are frustrated and unhappy that would damage them. Let me give an example. A family called me for counseling. The woman used to be so slim, but because now she's got many children, she's got big tummy and she's gone fat. She's added weight, which is normal for somebody that has had children. So this man on this fateful day was talking about fat women. And the woman was trying to say, oh, that woman is not fat. That woman is not fat. She's not bad. And while they were talking, I think that discussion triggered a thought. And the man said, I wish you were what you were when I knew you. That the worst thing about you now is this big stomach you have. This affected this woman so terribly. She cried and cried and then came to me and said, do you know this funny man who is saying this to me? Was what impregnated me. And when I had the baby, my tummy expanded. I could not contract anymore. And now he's using that against me. And lo and behold, the man was only joking. But that joke was too expensive as far as the woman was concerned. Sometimes the kind of things we joke with as we communicate must be carefully censored and filtered. Some of us, we have words coming out of our mouth as if it's a piercing of the sword. You say things to people that make them so reduced, so frustrated, so unhappy, but you don't mean it. You don't mean it, but you have just injured somebody's heart. Wrong communication. You must let your word be with grace, seasoned with salt, that you may know how to answer them that are weary. That's what the Bible says. Don't just open your mouth and say, I'm communicating, I'm trying to discuss, and you say things to people. Of course, there are women, there are men who probably, because they've been aging, because of time, they are now in their 60s, they are in their 70s, they may start to pick body odor. There's a way you can communicate. There's a way you can help the person. It's not just the way it comes to your mind, it's the way you're going to say it. You have to be careful. Communication can be positive, can be negative. I'll give an example. There's a woman that had, uh, uh, you know, she has high hormones, estrogen. So because of this, she has beards like men. You know, there are some women that have beard. They are bearded. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just that they have hormones, and the hormones are, they can be masculine or feminine, but they have these hormones that, you know. So these hormones produce what we call keratin, that produces more hair for some women than others. You will have seen some women have more hair, like my mother had long hair, and some women don't have. Some women have big eyebrow, some have just tiny. Some have eyelashes, some don't have. So because this woman had beard, does that allow somebody on her birthday to buy her a shaving stick or a shaving cream? You don't do that. You don't say you are What sort of communication is that? How come you cannot sit down and talk about it? Why must you buy a shaving stick for a birthday? No, 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 it's terrible. No, no, that's not good. No, no, no. It's not okay. It's not good. You see, there are ways you can communicate with people than insulting them. That is a way, in a way, you've told her, she didn't listen, you've told her, you didn't listen, and then you say that, oh, come on, that's not communication. That's a bad way to communicate to people. We need to be able to communicate in a way that will not be offensive, it will not create pain, will not create damage. The heart of everybody is tender. I've never met any man that has a stony heart. Literally. No heart is stone, all heart is flesh. You cannot afford to damage people's heart, to injure people's mind, and injure the people, their personality because of your words. You must bridle your tongue as you communicate with each other. You must say things that will encourage that person to speak more. I have counseled a family where the man does not speak good English, but the wife is very eloquent. So he doesn't like the husband to speak in front of people. So when the man wants to speak, you'll be pressing the man's hand. The man say, leave me. And then he will keep on. There's not a big deal to speak English. English is a language, just as Yoruba language or Igbo language or other languages are languages. It's not a big deal for somebody not to be able to speak English. That does not make the person lesser valued. There are people who speak English, but they are not as educated as other people who do not have good accents. So you cannot, if you need to communicate with such a person, there should be a way, matured way of saying it. You don't say it in a way that the person feels bruised, wounded, injured, fractured emotionally. Communication is a big thing in every relationship. All right? I haven't said all that because of my time. It's 8:30 now. Now, let me just say this to you quickly. If you, as a person, want to communicate with your spouse and you want your spouse to listen to you, you too must be ready to listen to them. It takes two. Don't assume I can speak to him and I expect him to understand me and accept me, but I am not ready to listen to him when he or she wants to talk. That will not happen. That will create a lot of pressure. That will create a lot of pressure. For the reason, you see, the thing is, it's both ways. But the day two of you can sit down and agree that, honey, you can tell me anything. Oh, then is the other person, oh, honey, you can tell me anything. Well, I will not be upset. I will not be angry. I'll be ready to take correction. I'll be ready to repent if I'm wrong. I'll be able to apologize if I'm wrong. I will not argue. I will not fight you. But even if I do argue, after the argument, there will not be animosity. If both of you can come to a time to discuss like this and agree like this, it means that those of you, those spouses are matured. They are matured and they can be recommended by me to go ahead and marry. You see, let me tell you, I hate divorce. I don't like divorce. And I would never encourage divorce. So that's why I take this kind of pain to explain to you so that your relationship can work. Last week, I was explaining to you about divorcees. I explained to you how funny it is. I don't like it. God does not like it. Nobody likes it. It affects everybody. Not only the two spouses, not the husband and the wife alone. It affects everybody, families, friends, and everybody that connect with them. And I said to you last week, even the divorcees, they know when you leave the first man, you go and marry the second man. The second man is not better than the first one. And then you leave that one, marry the third one. The third one is even worse than the second one. And it goes the same for women and men. It's not the best. So the church, as the body of Christ, now need to sit down to start to educate us. Unfortunately, before you become an engineer, somebody will teach you, you go to university. Before you become a doctor, somebody has to train you. Before you become a philosopher or a psychologist, somebody has to train you. How come there's nobody to train you to become a man or a woman or a parent? There's no school that teaches this, so everybody does what they like and behave the way they like. That's not true. That's not right. There are lots of people who have been frustrated, who have been wounded and damaged by some men or by some women. God did not create us into this world for us to come and injure one another emotionally. What will he gain? What will I gain by injuring my wife, destroying my wife, messing up my wife? Oh, she's doing that to me. What are we going to gain? What is the gain? That is the reason why this discussion is coming up. Listen to me. It is clear. It is very clear that if you know how to communicate with your wife, there is no problem, no matter how big it is, even without prayer. There are people who are praying every day. There are pastors who are praying every day, but they are divorcing. There are men of God, women of God, who cannot handle marriage, but they have a big church. It is not the big church. It is not how your anointing that will help you to keep marriage. Fasting and prayer does not keep marriages. It leads to frustration. What keeps your marriage is maturity, wisdom of God, maturity in the spirit. You need to be matured to manage. I told you the first M that is in that thing called marriage is management. If you don't know how to manage each other, you'll be frustrated. You will fight everybody, you'll be angry with everybody, and everybody will be your enemy. You don't want that in your relationship. You don't want that in your marriage. So communication is the right thing. As I round up, let me just tell you this. Another form of communication that we do not use more, that we should use most of the time, is to use such words as thank you. Thank you. I am sorry. I apologize. I didn't mean it. Use the word like I love you. You are the best thing that's ever happened to me. Oh, honey, you are so beautiful. Honey, when you dress in the morning, I go crazy. Oh, there's no one that can dress like you. Your dressing is just too superb. You see, they are positive words. The Bible says, heaviness in the heart maketh the heart to stoop, but the right word in due season maketh it glad. Saying the right word to each other does not hurt. Some men say, I say it in my heart. How can you say you love me in your heart? How can you say you are sorry in your heart? How can you say you are I don't mean it? I'm sorry. I repent in my heart. But you have not told her. Or you have not told him. You have not communicated your sorrow to him or to her. That is not the proper way to communicate. If you are too proud to say you are sorry, if you are too proud to say thank you for every little thing they've done to you, please don't go into a relationship because you are a danger to the next person. You are a danger and you will injure that person emotionally. You must learn to say thank you. And when you say, the worst type of communication is to say things you don't mean. Thank you. But the person can tell, oh, he's just telling me, so I can just go away. He's telling thank you. He's saying sorry, but he didn't mean it. When the next person can pick that in your spirit, that's what you're doing, you've lost that power. The power of communication, you've lost it. You must mean what you say. The next person, you must not say, I told him sorry. I told her sorry. I told her I love her. The next person was to say, my husband told me he loved me. You understand? Because if you say it, you don't mean it. If you say it to her, and then she says, oh, he was sorry. He said so. They know that you have said so. Don't just say, I told her I'm sorry. I told her I'm sorry. I told her I thank you. When she did that, you are the one saying it. You are still the one telling me, I'm your counselor. I won't listen. I won't get you. Let the woman say, when he said so, I heard it, I received it, I accepted it. Then I will know that you have spoken. I will know you have communicated. Because in communication, between relationship, between marriage, people use such words to shut the next person's mouth down and say, I've told you sorry. Do you want me to kill myself? I've told you sorry. So when I say sorry, sorry means sorry. What else do you want me to do? So when you say that, you expect that person to say, yes, he has said sorry. But in your mind, you are planning to do it next week. So over time, you realize you are saying sorry 1 month, sorry 2 months, sorry for the same thing repeatedly. Then you are taking a make. You are not a good guy. You're a bad boy. Or you're a bad girl. You're not doing right thing. You say I didn't use the word men and women. That means you are immature. Matured men and women say something and they mean what they say and they stand by it. When they say sorry, they mean sorry. When they say thank you, they mean thank you. When they say I love you, they mean they do. They are not just saying I love you so that you open your room door for them. No. They say it because they mean it. And that is exactly how it is with communication. All right, I'm going to round up now. We need to use those words as we communicate with our spouses. Good morning. How are you, honey? How you doing today? How you look so handsome? Even though you told him yesterday, the one for yesterday is gone. The food for yesterday is gone. He needs another food. He needs that assurance. The husband should tell the wife, the spouse, oh man, you're good. You're good looking. You smell so nice. Oh, your perfume is good. And if you think that he's using the perfume that you don't like, you don't need to tell him this is an awful perfume. You could just go buy another one or say, let's go to the shop and get one together. You need to be there. Your words must lift each other up. Your words must help each other to survive, to navigate in the right direction. You don't use words that will damage people, make people sick, make people cry, make people feel bad, make people feel worthless. That is not communication. Communication is a key. I'm going to stop here tonight. If you have a question, you can see the numbers scrolling at the bottom of that page. This is the email, and that is it. These are the numbers. You can text me, ask me any questions. I'll be happy to answer. Let me show you something before I go. I want to show you something quick. No, not this one. I'll show you. See, these are some of the materials we produce. This one here is saying why men tell lies. A lot of people have been asking me questions. Why do men tell lies? These are big questions. By the grace of God, I've been able to explain why men tell lies. All right. Now, I can't tell you now as I'm about to go, but men tell lies for many reasons, for good reasons, for bad reasons. But I've taught women here how to manage it, how to work between the negative and the positive, how to ensure and help him to be truthful. So anything that happens, it can be truthful to you. That is this first one. The second one is talking about who are you married to? Some men are infants, some men are babies, some men are boys. Which is yours? And if you are married to one of these infants, babies, or boys, how do you mature them? How do you grow them to mature? Because there are some men, the Bible says, for this reason shall a man leave his mother and his wife, and his mother and his father, and be married to his wife. So God does not expect infants, babies, boys to marry. Even though those infants could be 60, the babies could be 65, the boys could be 70. But as long as they are not matured, they are not supposed to be married. All right. Then the third one is talking about marriage, marriage of friends. You see, it's not every man that understands marriage. It's not every man that wants to be married. And it's not every woman that understands marriage. It's not every woman that understands what it is to be married. So between marriage and or friend, which one, marriage and friend, which one is more important? Which one do men want? Which one do women want? Is it to be their friend or just to marry them? Because there are some married people, married, but they are not friends. And there are some friends, very strong friends, but they are not married. All right. And then the last one is the power of the women. This one is so big. Men do not know that women have this power. It's an awesome power that men do not know. And I'm going to be telling you this when I come to that page. I'll be telling you there's power, and the power that God has given to women. If only men know it, no man on earth should mess up with any woman. Men, let me just talk to you 5 minutes before I go. I'm begging you. You see, apart from God, for those of us, or for those women, or for those men who are traditional in their mindset, they follow idols. I would rather advise you from today, rather than worship idol, worship your wife. Your wife is stronger than an idol. She's stronger than any Ogun or Batala, all those idols in Nigeria. Your wife is better. She's stronger. She's stronger. And if you understand the power that a woman carries, you should never joke with her. So I'm going to be talking about that when I start to talk about a series of women. You know, the power of the series is going to be series, the power of a woman. All right. So I want to thank you for tuning in and being part of this, and I look forward to meeting you next Wednesday. And we're going to be talking about a different topic entirely. We've talked about communication today. Last week I talked about divorce. So we're going to talk about different kind of things that will help your marriage to be strong. Maybe you're not married, maybe help your relationship to be stronger. All right. So it's been a blessing talking to you, and thank you for allowing me to come to your television. All right. Thank you. I'm coming to your Facebook and YouTube page. We'll speak more soon. Bye for now. Thank you.